Hey guys, welcome to Unacademy. This is my third video in our web development series, and in this video we are going to learn about the CSS syntax, CSS selectors and some property of CSS. My name is Ruchin Dwivedi. I am a blogger, writer, developer. I am currently pursuing my BTech in Computer Science and Information Technology. I was also a co-founder and developer at Afterlife, which was an organ donation campaign. Okay, before introducing you to CSS, let me tell you how a division tag in HTML works. So here in an example, you can see that I have used the division tag here. Well, the division tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document. So in my previous presentation, I mentioned about the section element or the section tag in our HTML document, and the division work the same. It basically groups the block element to format them with the CSS code, okay, or the CSS file. Like you can see, this is the opening division tag and this is the closing division tag, and I have written the paragraph tag here, and this is the output. So it simply makes a block in which you will have all the grouped elements, right? So this is the way in which our division elements work, so that we can simply apply a particular CSS code to the whole division. Okay, so it will be simpler to use with our website. Now, before going to the CSS, let us understand how to link the CSS with HTML. In my first presentation, I told you there are three ways to add a CSS with an HTML document, and they are the inline, the internal way, and the external way. Okay, so as in our previous lecture, we understood the attribute start that we used with our list. Okay, but in the same way, we will use the style attribute in the HTML elements. Okay, in using the inline way. Now, using the internal way, we will use the style element. Okay, there is also a style element, and that will be used in our head section, right? So style element will be used in our head section. And in the external way, which is the most recommended one, in the external way, we will use an external CSS file and link it with our HTML document, right? Okay, so let us see how to link them. The first is the inline. Okay, so here we have added an attribute, that is a style attribute, right? You can see here an style attribute is added, and after that we are defining the color of the HTML paragraph, right? This is the paragraph tag. So after the element, we will describe the style that is an attribute of the HTML element and defining the CSS. Okay, so this is the inline way to add a CSS file add a CSS code with our HTML document. Now there is another way, that is the internal way. Well, the internal way, we will use the head section, and we will define a style opening tag, and this is the style closing tag. So we will define a style tag, and in that we will write our CSS code. So we will define our style tag in our head section, and in this way we are going to define our CSS in our HTML. So this is the second way. And the third, which is the most common one, is the external way. Okay, so in the head section, we'll give a link. Okay, we'll give a link for our HTML for our CSS file. First of all, we'll make another file and save it as whatever name you want. That let's say theme.css. I have saved the file named as theme.css, right? Now I want to link that particular file with my particular page, web page or HTML document. I'll use this. Okay, this is my head section, and I'll use link relation, that is rel, which is the relation between your HTML and your linked file, which is a style sheet. Okay, style sheet means CSS file. Okay, then the type means text, which is a CSS file. Okay, so we'll write type CSS, and then href is the URL, and the URL is the name of your CSS file. So in this way, we simply link our CSS file with our HTML. Okay, so this is the code which we are going to use in your HTML to link a CSS file externally, and this is the most recommended one, right? Now let us see the syntax of our HTML. So first of all, we have to use the selectors. So these are the selectors. We will use the selectors, open the brackets, close the brackets here, and in between that we will write the code. In the code, the first one before the colon is the property, right? And this before the semicolon is the value of that property, and all of that makes a complete CSS code. So this is the syntax how to define a code. but there are basically 4 to 5 types by which we can select a particular element, and we can select the group of more than one elements, right? So let us see, and they are basically known as the CSS selector. So let us see how to use the selectors and write a CSS code for them. So this is the basic syntax of CSS, in which we have to use the property first and then the value, and basically all the code of CSS will be written in this format, right? So in this way we can select a CSS code. Now let us see what are the CSS selectors. Well, CSS selectors are used to select the HTML elements based on their names, based on their IDs, class, attribute, and more, right? So in this way we select this. These are the selectors of CSS. So we are going to see all the selectors one by one. So in our previous example that we have seen here, this is the element selector. Okay. So element selector basically select all the HTML element, okay, and apply the particular style or the particular code to it. For example, here is the paragraph element, here is the division element, here is the H1 element, okay. So in this way we can simply use like for example, you can see here is the paragraph. We have selected the paragraph element, right, and applied a particular CSS code to it. So after this code, this style will be applied to all the paragraph elements that are available in our HTML documents. So in this way we can use the element selectors, right? Now the second is the ID selector, right? Well, the ID selector uses the ID attribute of an HTML element to select a specific element. Okay, so if there are 7 to 8 paragraph element in my HTML document and I just want to select a particular one, right, I'll use the ID selector. There must be unique ID assigned to that element. Okay, so ID selectors simply give a unique identification to our HTML element. So for example, you can see here that in my paragraph element I've used an ID content, right? ID is content. Okay, so here you can see for defining it in our CSS file, we will use hash content, that is the name of the ID, and then apply the code, so that this code will only be applied to the ID, to the code in which this particular ID is there. Okay, so in this way we use our ID selector. Okay, it can be used with any of our HTML element, right? Our third selector is the class selector. Well, the class selector uses the class attribute of an HTML element to select a specific element. Okay, there's no need to for class selector to be unique. Okay, we can also use the same class with different elements. Okay, now if I have 5 elements and I have given the class attribute to them and I have given the name content, right, and I can simply define them in my CSS as dot. In our ID we used hash, and in our class selector we'll use the dot and then the name of the class. Okay, and after that particular code is applied to all the element of that class. Okay, so let us say if I define a division in which I define division in a class, the division, and giving it a name center. Okay, it a class center. So my division class center, and I also use a paragraph tag which also uses the class center. Now if I just want to have a change in my paragraph and not in the division, I'll use p dot center. That means the change must be applied to only the paragraph tag. Okay, so in this way we can use the class. We can use it for single or multiple elements, so that's why it's very important. And also ID is also very important, right? And the last is the grouping selector. Okay, so grouping selector is to select more than one element at a time and apply the CSS code to it. So here I have H1, I have H2, and I have paragraph, all of the 3 elements, and I have applied a code to it. So in this way we can use as many elements as we want and apply the CSS code to the HTML elements, right? So this is the way in which these are called the grouping selectors. Okay, now let us see how to write comments in our CSS code, right? So these are CSS code, and to write a single line comment we have to use this syntax. As you can see here, this syntax, we will write a a star and the single line, and after that we'll close the comment using this syntax, that is a star and forward slash. Okay, so this is the way we can use our single line comment, and if you want multi-line comment, we'll use the same syntax but we'll use the line. Okay, so you can add as many lines you want now, and after that you will use, first of all you will use this, you can end this with this. Okay, so this will not affect the output of the code, right? So in this way you can write the CSS comment. So here is a complete CSS and HTML document that you can see here. Here's the code that I have written for you. Here you can see that after applying CSS, the HTML page looks like this. Okay, so here is the code you can see. First of all, I have used the doc type HTML, which is the declaration. Okay, after this, these are HTML opening tag. Okay, and these are heading, and here I have used the internal way to apply my CSS. Okay, I have used internal way because there's a very less code for CSS. That's why I used this internal way to apply my CSS, right? Now let us see what I have written in my body tag. First of all, in my body, in our body tag, as we all know that all the content that is visible in our web page will be there in our body tag. So I have only used two tags. That is, first is H1, that is first CSS example. Here you can see this is the first CSS example, and second is this is an HTML page, and here you can see this is a paragraph, that is this is an HTML page. Now we have to add HTML, we have to add CSS to it. Now what should we do? Here you can see the example. In the body, first of all, I wanted this color, the color for the background. Okay, so I used background color. This is a property for changing the background color. Okay, so here's the background color property, and I have assigned the color here. Okay, now after that this will be changed, the background color will be there. The second thing is, I want my H1 to look like this. I want my H1 to be in the center of my web page. Okay, so I will use, first of all, I assign the color. The color simply gives the color of the font. Here you can see these are white, they are white, so it will provide the white to prevent. After that, I want it to be in middle of the, or in the center of my web page. So here I have used text align, that is center. The width and the height, here you also use the background color, that is blue violet. Now I wanted the color of my heading to be of this color. Okay, this is a violet color, and that's why I've used background color, and I have defined the size of the background color here. That is, the width must be 100%, so that it will be from here to here, and the height must be 100 px. Px means pixel. Okay, so 100 pixel are these, so this is a 100 pixel height. Okay, so in this way I have defined the H1 heading, and in my paragraph I have used font family, that is Verdana, that is, you can see the font family. Okay, so we can change the font family to Times New Roman and everything using this property. And I wanted my font size to be 20 pixel, and after that I can use 20 pixel here, and this is the output. So in this way we apply our CSS with our HTML document and make this type of web page. Okay, in our next lecture we are gonna learn more about the properties. Okay, I hope you all like this video. Please like it, please comment, and please tell me if there's any scope for improvement. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Please let us know your opinion. Thank you very much.